Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here with you, and we thank God for everything being made possible. I will not claim to be an expert in the field of finance planning. I'll be as pedestrian as possible, because that is finance planning is a day-to-day activity, and it's either we plan now or we reap the negative benefits in the past. I've been asked to give a 5-minute on personal finance planning in Nigeria. The reality is that should it be a deliberate action or a guesswork? Well, either to be deliberate or not is for you and I to decide what path we want to tread, especially after the active years. But for me, I believe that the best is to be deliberate, and that is to plan. And why do you need to plan? Nigeria remains one of the most unpredictable for the elderly. The elderly, especially when they get to after retirement. And what you will discover is a great percentage of those who have been in employment in the past, you discover they're not living as well as they thought they would be living. What will have been responsible for this, you and I know, if we have systems that are not as welfarist as expected, and couple that with global economic imbalances, especially in an environment such as this, where we don't have statistics and data to prepare. So the better thing is to begin to make an alternative plan for yourself. I've been reliably informed, well, educated by Dipo that you'll be doing well for yourself if you put about 30% of your income monthly aside. And I made the calculation myself at about 80,000 in a month. If you work for 35 years, you'll have earned like about 33 million plus. And if you're able to put a third of that aside, which is about 10 million 80, I guess, that's good money even in this present climate that we're in. And if you add that to the pensions policy which government has put in place, which I think is one of the best program initiatives of any government in Nigeria ever, you will discover that you may not be able to buy all the Rolls Royces, but at least you'll be able to afford your basic needs. So your deliberate action is to plan. Even at that, government will still fail. And what you discover is that why we would always have situations where people don't live well is we haven't had a culture of being real entrepreneurs, especially after employment. Practically everyone depends on properties, and that's accruals from rents. I was in Uyo like about 5 days ago, and to my surprise, we discovered that a 3-bedroom apartment in a choice area would cost as much as 1 million naira. And that is not Lagos. What that tells you is that as much as people have made their monies in the cities because they are not groomed themselves in the art of entrepreneurship and real investments, they will always depend on rentals. And that's why you have a particular set of people who would claim the manufacturing industry, manufacturing sector. And if we continue on that trend, what you and I will make in retirement will not be enough for us. Because the cost of living will continue to rise, and we'll only have rentals, accruals to depend on. And that won't be proper planning for yourself. So the basic principle is you should learn to invest wisely. It does not mean that you still not live a normal life, enjoy the basic things. You will still do that if you plan very well. A personal experience. Well, Dipo is, I find him to be a young man who is enterprising. And the first time he talked to me about personal finance, it was like, where are you coming from? And a few hours after we met, after the office hours, we went our separate ways. I went with my driver, he went with, So we met at an Amala joint later that night, and he was like, oh, okay. And added to that, he decided to foot the bills. And the practical part of that for me as a lesson is, in spite of all he will teach you and tell you that you need to plan, you'll still be generous to people around you. It's just about planning. It does not mean that if you're planning your finances, you'll be miserly and you'll not be able to cater for people around you. You'll be able to do that. It's just that you must plan. And planning isn't putting your money where you know they're secure. It's bad enough if you're planning and your investments are going to waste. So you should plan. Real estate is not bad business, don't get me wrong. Doing stocks is not bad. The bills are not bad. But it's just that you must be properly educated, be properly advised, so that you don't put your money where there will be regrets at the time then when you will have thought that, well, you had your back covered. But you see, the bottom line is, if one fails to plan, one plans to fail. So, it is good to plan, and I have learned over time that there is nothing like poverty. Poverty is misused opportunities, misused revenues. Nothing ever like poverty. If we go into the scriptures, I'm not trying to be a pastor, I haven't qualified to that level yet. In the Garden of Eden, God told Adam and Eve, do not touch this. So, if you make a wrong choice, then you get thrown out. And that's exactly what happened. So if you don't want to get thrown out, you must plan, and plan very well. So this is the time to make a good call for yourselves. It is better late than never. You can still start. And if you do that, educate yourself along the line, and educate your children also, not because you're seeing them as investments in taking care of you. Well, if it comes, but that they don't become a liability in the long run. At a time where your limbs are weak, they should be able to stand on their own, and then you'll be able to live your retirement in peace and in happiness. I thank you very much, and I thank all of you for listening. As broadcasters, we have been learned to keep to time, and I will not want to exceed the 5 minutes. God bless you, and thank you very much.